Welcome to Perfect Guardian, and I'll tell you about top 10 facts about Titanic that will surprise you. The first of all, it was the most expensive budget for passengers. There were an estimation of the cost for a one-way passage to Titanic was 4,350 USD dollars. At that time, equivalent to 1,06,310 USD today. Such accommodation was regarded as the most expensive seagoing real estate ever for the first class ticket. Now about the dogs. Despite the fact a lifeboat had to carry up to 40 passengers, and although there were not enough lifeboats on the Titanic to save every soul of her passengers at that time, there was a report indicated that amongst the 713 survivors from the ship, 3 dogs were also recorded as passengers that had been made safe to the lifeboats. 2 were Pomeranian and other one was Pekinese, to be precise. Now, other fact was the couple on the honeymoon. If you have watched Titanic movie, you would remember the most emotional scenes of the Jack and Rosa in the last minutes of the sinking ship. In real life, there were actually the record of 13 couples were celebrating their honeymoon on that giant ship at that time. Unfortunately, they are probably among the 1,500 people who didn't make from such a catastrophe. Now the wrong captain for the job. It's a bit surprising that the captain of the Titanic at that time, Mr. Edward John Smith, had the 37-year veteran experience to sail power ship. However, he was probably not eligible enough to helm for Titanic due to the fact that the ship was run by steam. At the starting point of the sailing, Mr. Smith planned to set this sail was the final journey of him across the Atlantic. Well, this could not be truer as that was his last job as the captain. The irony was that with 28 years of his majority life experience in sailing, manning sail ships here and there, but the lack of experience with the steaming ship, this old man kept commanding his fellow crews to stay at full speed, 22 knots, even when this ship was entering the notable areas of the existing icebergs. You can understand the final results and the aftermath from this. Now the profits. Several films, television shows, music and documentaries have been made about the disaster of RMS Titanic, including the film Saved from the Titanic, which was released in 1912, Titanic in 1943, Titanic in 1953, A Night to Remember 1958, The Unsinkable Molly Brown 1964, Raise the Titanic 1980, Secrets of the Titanic 1986, Titanic 1997, The Legend of the Titanic 1999, Titanic, The Legend Goes On 2000, Ghost of the Abyss 2003, Titanic 2 2010, Titanic 2012, Titanic Blood and Steel 2012, My Heart Will Go On song, and so on. It was first movie, The Titanic, that earns the highest net grossing to reach the $1 billion record. Also it won 11 Oscar awards including Best Picture and Best Director award. Among such effort was Mr. James Cameron 1997 film. Now the real hero of the Titanic. All 30 survivors on a lifeboat were indebted to the second officer Charles Herbert Lightlawler at that time. He was the senior officer who took charge of suppressing the panic situation to ensure for safety to passage on the boat. Before serving in Titanic, he was in British Navy in World War I and World War II. Among the survivors, he rescued a 6-year-old boy and helped other soldiers to overturn lifeboats from the ship in order to carry as many children and women as possible on board. Unfortunately, this young man was tragically hit and killed by a car accident in the state of Miami, United States, just 3 years later after he survived from the Titanic. Now the odds. There were many odds encountered that can relate it to the Titanic. For instance, many modern ships are actually often hit an iceberg more than one time for the journey. But it seems that only Titanic, that was believed to be unsinkable ship, was hit an iceberg for the first time, yet it didn't make it through. Making the Titanic was the only one ocean liner in history has been brought down to her knees by an iceberg. Moreover, the detector, the former leader and the founder of the North Korea, Kim Il-sung, was born on 15th April 1912, the exact same date which the Titanic sank. In addition, the budget spent on the building the real Titanic at that time was less than the total cost of the whole production for James Cameron's 1997 film The Titanic. Now, almost unbelievable facts about the survivors. The temperature in the Atlantic Ocean at the time of tragic event of Titanic occurred was estimated about 2 degrees Celsius below zero. This would have made people not to survive more than 15 minutes in such condition. In some cases, people would have died within 2 minutes from the cold shock. Notwithstanding, one survivor from the accident was the chief baker who was freezing for 2 hours before being rescued. The odd that made him survive in the cold water was because he allegedly drank so much liquor to keep his body warm enough against the freezing temperature. Another survivor, who was believed to be the last remaining soul of all from the Titanic, was died on 31st May 2009, during of which she was just 2 months old by the time of the accident. Now the Titanic's body. It took 73 years later to discover the wreckage of the Titanic in 1885. Her body was split into 2 parts and was lowered at a depth of 12,450 feet below the seabed, 370 miles away from the coast of Newfoundland. The specialist in the deep ocean expedition used a Mir submersible chartered from the Russian Academy of Science to dive in searching for the wreck, which cost about $59,000. Since then, thousands of artifacts have been obtained and put at museums around the globe. Now the Titanic general characteristic. Titanic has been kept alive through various means like folk songs, books, film, exhibits and memorials. Such, the most famous ship in humankind history was created with amazing characteristics as follows. Titanic was built with a capacity to put more than 3,000 people. It was engineered on a hitherto unprecedented scale in order to sail with full speed and comfort. Her whole body was the largest structural design for ship that ever made, with 53.3 meter height, 269.1 meter long. The ship can travel with a maximum speed of 45 km per hour, which required the burning of about 610 tons of coal on a daily basis. Thank you. Please subscribe to my channel Perfect Guardian and give your comment.